In this lesson, we're going to look at volume, which is three-dimensional. So compared to area, what we've been doing with length and width, now we're going to add in the height, or multiply in the height. So some of our key formulas, we have a formula for spheres, which would be like a marble. We have a formula for a rectangular solid, so it's like a brick. The volume of a circular cylinder, you can think of that like a soup can. And a circular cone could be like an ice cream cone or one of those snow cones. If you ever had a snow cone, the paper cup comes to a point at one end and the other end is a circle. That would be an example of a circular cone. So we're going to find the volume, which means like how much would the circular cone hold, or how much soup is in the soup can. So we're looking for volume. And a lot of our volume formulas start off looking like our area formulas, so they should be somewhat recognizable. So when we're working with a rectangular solid, if we were finding area, we would have said length times width. But when we're talking volume, we have length times width times height. We're adding that third dimension. So we're going to multiply all of our dimensions together. So 6 times 4 times 2. And when you do that, you end up getting 48, and it would be cubic feet. So when we had perimeter, which was a single dimension or a linear measure, we would just have feet. When we had area, which was two-dimensional, a length and a width, then we had feet squared. Now that we have a third dimension or 3 dimensions, it's going to be cubic feet or feet cubed. So now let's look at a cylinder. Recall that the formula from the first key terms, or you can think of your area formula. The area formula starts off pi r squared, and for volume we multiply in the height. So pi, now we have two approximations for pi, 3.14 and 22/7. You can use either one. Make sure in MyMathLab that you use the one that they specify, because if you don't, you'll be slightly off in your rounding and it would count it wrong. So if it says use 3.14, use that one. If it says use 22/7, use that one. We'll do one of each. So for our volume, I'm going to use the 22/7 on this one just because I don't see a decimal point in either of my numbers, so I'm just going to use the fraction. And this would be times 6 squared times the height, which is 18. And you can put it directly in your calculator this way. Enter in the 22/7 as a fraction, and then multiply it by 6 squared. Now remember, that's not 6 times 2, that's 6 times 6. You can either do 6 times 6, or your calculator should have a squared key on it, or an exponent key. So 6 squared, and then times 18. And I get 2,036, and I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. And my units would be meters cubed. And there's my volume. Now when I set up this next problem, I'm going to use the same formula because it's still a circular cylinder, even though it's kind of slanted a little bit. That's okay. Instead of using 22/7 though, I'm going to use 3.14 times my radius, which is 4, and then squared, times my height, which is 4.8. When I multiply all of that together in my calculator, I get 241.152, and this would be feet cubed. Now let's look at spheres. And again, we can use the 22/7 or the 3.14. We have to go back to find our sphere volume formula, which was the first one. It's 4/3 times pi times r cubed. So 4/3 pi r cubed. So 4/3. I'm going to use the 22/7 on this one just because I already have a fraction, so I'll go ahead and use that one. And then times my radius cubed. My radius is 12, so 12 cubed. And I can put the whole thing in my calculator. 4/3 times 22/7 times 12. And remember, that's 12 times 12 times 12, or you can use your exponent key. And I get 7,241.14, and it would be meters cubed. Now let's look at a cone. Let's go back and see what our cone formula is. And it's 1/3 pi r squared h. So 1/3 pi r squared h. 1/3 pi r squared h. So let's plug everything in. And let's use 3.14 this time. My radius is 8, so it's going to be 8 squared times my height of 20. And you can put this all in your calculator all at one time, or you can do one at a time. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and put in the whole thing. And I get 1,339.73, and that's repeating. And this would be feet cubed. And that would be my final answer for the cone.